Torah portion. Beshalach. The Jews are out of Egypt, and they have come to the sea, and the Egyptians are coming after them. We are in Sefer Shmos, the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse number 9. Vayirdefu, when they pursued Mitzrayim, Egypt, Achareim after them, V'yasigu, and they reached them, or overtook them, Oisam them. Chaynim alayam, when they were encamped by the sea, Kol sus rechav, all the horse and chariots, Parai of Pharaoh, Uparashov, and his horsemen, V'cheloi, and his army, Al Pi Achirais, they were by a place called Pi Achirais, Lifnei Baal Tzafoin, before Baal Tzafoin. Verse number 9. We're in chapter 14, verse 9. Chapter 14, verse 9. Yeah? V'yirdefu. So here's a picture. This is where they are. Okay. No Rashi. Verse number 10 now. Verse 10. Ufara Hikriv, and Pharaoh came close. He brought himself close. V'yisu b'nei Israel, and they lifted up the children of Israel as v'eineihem, their eyes. V'hine, and behold, Mitzrayim, the Egypt, Noisach Remas, is coming after them, journeying after them. V'yiru ma'od, and they were very frightened. V'yitzaku, and they cried out. B'nei Israel, the children of Israel, El Hashem to Hashem. Rashi number 10. Pharaoh Hikriv, and Pharaoh brought himself close. Karav, that Parai drew himself close. Ma Hikriv, what does it mean? He was brought close. Hikriv atzma v'nis ametz likadem lifneihem. Like he came close. What do you mean? Like something brought him close. What brought him close? He brought himself close and made an effort to go ahead of his own troops. Like he actually made up with them. He stipulated and he made a condition that they come. He will be not the way usual leaders are, that they're at the back of their troops, but he will lead them in the front. Right? Noisei achareihem. So noisei, it should say nasu, that they plural journeyed, but it's in singular form. So Rashi explains, B'lev echad, they had one heart. Ki isha has one person. That's one explanation of why it's in singular form. In other words, they all had the same heart to do, harm to the Jewish people, or to bring them back as slaves, right? That they were all there in the mission together, and that's what brought them together. Davar acher, alternative explanation why it's a singular verb. In Egypt is journeying after them. This indicates the Israelites, they saw a heavenly vision, I guess, if you will, or whatever, however they saw it, that the ministering angel of Egypt was traveling from heaven to aid the Egyptians. In other words, so there's two issues over here, it seems, according to this. It says Egypt. It doesn't say Mitzriim. The Egyptians are going against them, are traveling against them. It says Egypt. So that's singular form. Anoise is singular form. So what's the singular form over here when it's, when it's a whole army coming? So the singular form is that they had a vision that the singular ministering angel above is coming to aid them. That's what they saw.
The guardian angel.
Yeah, exactly. Vayitzaku, this is a famous Rashi over here, a Sikha from the Rebbe on this. So Rashi says, Vayitzaku, they cried out. What did they do? But what does it mean they cried out? Rashi's bothered by that. Tavsu umnas avaisam, they adopted the craft of their fathers, meaning prayer. Obviously, the question is just say that they prayed. Why you say they grabbed the craft of their forefathers? Why say it in such a roundabout manner? Say they prayed. But Rashi doesn't say that, right? But Avram, and now he brings examples of where they prayed. But Avram, who aimer lamakom asher amacham, regarding Avram, it says in the place that he stood there. Yitzchak l'such b'sada, concerning Yitzchak. So that's by Sodom and Gomorrah when he prayed on behalf of Sodom and Gomorrah. Yitzchak was when Rivka came for the first time after being chosen as his bride. It says l'such b'sada that he was meditating in the field, right? Yaakov, Yaakov, it says when he encountered the place. Right, and he slept there overnight, and he put stones around his head, and had the dream of the ladder. So there it says, "V'yivka b'mokom," he encountered the place. All that refers to prayer. The Rebbe asks a question that those are only places that hint to prayer, as opposed to by Yaakov. Yaakov prays to God, "V'yitzaleni miyad Esav alchi," save me, God, from the hands of my brother Esav. That's a very clear prayer, as opposed to "V'yivka b'mokom" is only alluding to prayer. Likewise, by Yitzchak, it says what's the term? No, I forget the well, first the question. So by Yitzchak, it's that they both prayed in a corner because Rivka was barren, right? Rivka was barren, and they both prayed. Clear, and likewise by Avraham, that he prays not by Yom Sham that he stood there, but he actually prayed to God concerning the Sodom and Gomorrah and demanded from God, right? So more clear, why is this? So Rebbe explains over here very briefly. Oops. Well, 1 second. What happened here? Hold on. Sorry, I don't know what happened here. Lost the Chumash. Sorry. Oh, there we are. Okay. So briefly, the Rebbe explains that Rashi's bothered over here. Like, why are they praying to God? Either they're believers or unbelievers at this point. So the Rebbe explains they prayed to God because they grabbed their forefathers' craft. In other words, not praying because they need something. They're praying because that's what a Jew does. They pray. That's what a Jew does. And therefore, the examples he gives is where they prayed because that's what a Jew does. They pray to connect to God. They don't pray for something. That's not called true prayer. True prayer is not because you need something, you come to God and ask him. True prayer is because God is God. He's your father. He's your king. And you stand before him and you want to connect to him, period, because he's God. So therefore you pray. Therefore, the examples that are brought are actually the examples of Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv. Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv, where they prayed because that's what a Jew does. That's their habitual craft, is to pray. That's the Rebbe's explanation. In brief, the Rebbe's explanation. Very powerful. Okay, now, seems now to be contrary to what's going to happen in the next verse, but let's continue. And they said to Moshe, because there's no burial spots no graves in Egypt. Lakachtanu lamus, you took us to die by midbar in the desert. Now, the Egyptians are coming. The sea is in front of us. Yeah, what is this you did to us? Like trying to take us out of Egypt. Just shows you can daven mincha and daven because that's what a Jew does. But after mincha, you're complaining again. Not a contradiction. Although, it would seem to be, but it's not. All right, Rashi number 11. Hamibli ain't kvarim. Is it because there's no graves? This means ki machmas chitzon kvarim, because of the insufficient graves. Shein kvarim b'mitzrayim li'kavasham, that there are not a sufficient amount of graves to be buried in Egypt. L'kachtanu misham. That's why you took us out of there. In other words, and here we'll die. Right, being a little facetious. In Old French, si pour pelon dinon forços. How was that French?
Pour faïence de nos faces.
Huh?
Whatever that means.
I guess it means what we said in the Hebrew and English, right? Old French, remember. Okay, verse number 12. Is this not the thing asher dibarnu elecha, that we've spoken to you b'mitzrayim in Egypt? Lamor saying, Chadal mimenu, let us be v'navdez Mitzrayim, and we'll serve Egypt. Ki tov lanu, because it's better for us, avedis Mitzrayim, that we should serve Egypt, mimusenu, from dying, b'midbar, in the desert. Rashi number 12. That we spoke to you in Egypt. What did they say this? That Hashem will reveal himself to you and carry out judgment. In chapter 5, verse 21, in Parsha Shmois, this is what they complained. Right, when they got more work to do. Right, remember that they came and Moshe and Aaron came to Pharaoh, and because of that they got more work to do. They weren't given the straw. They had to take the straw, find the straw themselves and make the bricks, and so on. So there they said, okay, Mimusenu, better than we should die. Macher Namus, that we should die. So some grammar over here. Should be answered then our death. Excuse me. Ashav Shinokud Beshuruk. Now that it's vowelized with a shuruk. Nivar Asher Namus. So we interpreted it then that we should die. Aimeiten Musenu. Namus. Okay, some grammar over here. Okay, not clear on that grammar. Let's go to verse number 13. Now Moshe responds to them. El ha'am, to the people. Al tiro, do not be frightened. Hisyatzvu, stand your place, stand fast. Uru'u, and you will see, is Yeshua's Hashem, the salvation of God, of Hashem. Asher Yaseh, that he will do, lachem, for you. Hayoim, today it's going to happen. Ki asher re'isem, for that which you are seeing, es Mitzrayim, Egypt, hayoim, you're seeing Egypt today, loisai sifu, you will not further, liroisam, see them further, ad oid ad ha'ilam, further, forever. Wow, look at that. Moshe is giving assurance over here. Let's see Rashi. For that, number 13, we're seeing Rashi number 13. So that which you have seen, Egypt, Masher Yisem Isamein Ella, Hayoim, that you're seeing is only today. Hayoim Husher Yisem Isam Veloy, so see boy, today you're seeing them, but no longer will you continue to see them.
But in the VM, they do deal with Egypt again. Right?
1 second. I'm just looking to see if commentator over here. First of all, speaking about them, I don't think it said future generations, right? Speaking about them, that they're not going to see. Didn't say that me and you won't see, right? Or another generation won't see. They're not going to see. In other words, right, you know what's the verse really saying, right? You can take the Jew out of Egypt, but not Egypt out of the Jew. Today, we're going to take Egypt out of the Jew. If you will. Okay, verse number 14, last verse. Hashem, God, Yelochem, He will battle lachem for you. Vatem tachrishun, and you be silent. Rashi, number 14. Hashem will battle for you. Bishvilchem. So Rashi explains, lachem, doesn't mean to you. It means for you, on your behalf, in other words, right? V'chein ki Hashem nilcham lahem. Likewise, we have later on in verse 25, it will also say, Hashem is waging war for you. V'chein im l'kel tirivon. Likewise, we see the phrase that would you fight for God? V'chein asher diber li. Likewise, li in the phrase is that he spoke on my behalf. Li and lachem means to you, to me, right? But in this context, it means on my behalf. So that's what it's just showing. Atem tirivon lebal. Like just bringing. It's interesting that there's a medrash. The Rashi doesn't bring here. I guess it's because not simple meaning, right? That God's going to fight for you because there were a group of Jews. There are 4 divisions of Jews. There was a group of Jews that said, okay, we're going to wage battle against the Egyptians, right? God says, no. Moshe says, no. God's going to do it for you. And then it says, and you be silent, because there were a group of Jews said, okay, this situation, our response to it is we got to pray to God. No. Moshe says, be silent, right? Then there's a group of Jews who said,
That's fine.
I just said that. Yelochim lochem. That was right. Now let's go to verse 13. I'm doing it kind of backwards. I did verse 14. Then there is a group of Jews that Moshe is speaking to that stand and see the salvation of God. Because, in other words, their response was, okay, this is too much already. We have, 210 years in Egypt, 86 years of slavery. This is too much, The Egyptians coming after us. Instead of we get into their hands and who knows what they'll do with us, we're just going to go throw ourselves into the sea. No, Moshe says, you just stand your place. You're going to see the salvation. And then it says, you're going to see them. You see them today, but you're not going to see them again. That refers to a group. Again, Rashi's not saying this. I'm telling you what the Medrash says. That refers to a group that says, you know what? It was a good try. We made the effort. Well, let's go back to Egypt. Well, let's go with them, right? Let's just go with them. So they say, no. Today you're going to see them. You're not going to see them anymore. You're not going back to Egypt. That's Moshe, in these words, the Medrash says, is hinting to these 4 groups of Jews who had these 4 different sentiments. So why not at least pray? No, not even prayer, as we will see tomorrow. That Hashem says one word, Vayisau. Just move forward. Take one step forward. And Nachshon, the son of Aminadav, had that courage, he took a step forward, and then another step, went into the sea until the sea, he came the water to his nose, and then the sea split. But that's tomorrow. Getting ahead of myself. But that's, again, the measure. Interesting that Rashi doesn't bring it down. I guess because simple meaning is as Rashi explained it, quite simply, right? I guess so. Let's just take a quick look to see if we could see something else. Okay. So the Rebbe also explains this spiritually. What does this mean? There are some Jews who just want to throw them into the water. Water means here, metaphorically, just throw yourself into the waters of Torah and all your problems. Like what's going on? The Egyptians coming after you means you got problems in life. Just throw yourself into Torah study, drown yourself in the holy words of Torah, and everything will be okay when you're having a challenge in life. Others say, you know what, we're weak, we're having a challenge, give in to Egypt in me, give in to the Egypt in me, because I can't overcome it, it's too much. Others say, I'm fighting it to the end. The evil inside of me, the evil in the world, I am fighting it. I'm going to fight evil. And the fourth says, when you see a difficult, you're involved in a very difficult situation, pray to God, which would seem, that sounds reasonable, pray to God. So the answer is no, none of these are correct. When you have a challenge in life, the Egypt in you is coming after you. The Egypt outside of you is coming after you to try to control you. There's only one thing you need to do. Take one step forward towards Mount Sinai. Cross the sea and towards your mission. Just recognize you have a mission to accomplish. You have to go to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. And when you know that you have a mission to accomplish and you go one step towards that mission, that's the answer to dealing with all of life's problems. That's how the Rebbe explains that in spiritual terms. Got it? Move forward, exactly. All right, folks, we'll see you by Tanya in a few moments. Huh?
Avanti.
Avanti?
Avanti.
Avanti means forward?
Yeah, that's what they go to war, right?
Huh?
So the leader in the front says Avanti.
Oh, yeah?
Forward, Avanti.
Forward, and I say behind.
Forward march.